Hi guys, welcome to my channel Shiva's Tech. So in this session we will be looking at one of the important conditional statement that is present in Java, which is if else and nested if else. So first we will try to understand what actually is if else. So basically it is used to check the condition, and based on that condition corresponding statement will be executed. So basically what we will be doing is that, so for example, if we have two conditions, so for example, condition A and condition B, right? So if the condition A is true, if you want to execute some block of statements. If the condition is false, then you want to execute some block of statements. So that you can do it. So this process of checking the condition, you can call it as conditional statements or if else statement. So for example, this is how you will be writing it. So you will be adding an if keyword. Okay, so this is the first condition and its block will be executed. Then if this condition is not true, then that comes under else. So we will also be checking this particular condition, and if this condition is satisfied, then we will be executing the code that is present in this particular block. So as the name itself indicates, so it is denoted by F. So if the condition is true, else if the condition is false. So this is what we have learned in this particular example. And also we can also check for the multiple conditions using nested if else. So we will also try to look how the nested if else looks like. Okay, so for now let us try to understand just if else with the two conditions. So basically, this is one example of if else. So for example, you want to find out the maximum of two numbers. So in this case, let me take a value is equal to 5 and b value is equal to 6. Now by looking at these two numbers, we know that b is the greatest, right? So by using if else, let us try to check. So if a greater than b, so a greater than b in the sense a will be replaced with 5 and b will be replaced with 6, right? If a greater than b, so is 5 greater than 6? No. So this won't be executed. The block that is present over here won't be executed. Then automatically it will come to the else block. Then it will print b is greater. So it means like if a is greater than b, then you will be printing a is greater. If it is not greater than b, then it will come to the else and we can print like b is greater. Okay, so now since there are only two conditions, so you are checking it for only two variables. If this is not greater, then automatically we can consider this as a greater, right? So we need not specify one more else if, like we need not check b greater than a, because if a is not greater than b, then automatically b becomes, so automatically it will comes to the else block. So that is how we need to understand the if else statement in Java. So now let us look into the nested if else. So for example, if you want to check the same condition, so let us take the same example, but this time for more than two variables or two values, more than two values. Okay, so for example, a equal to 5. So I am taking b equal to 6, and for example, c is equal to 4. So let us take this example. So in this case, b is the greatest, we know, right? So in terms of programming, how can we check the greatest of these three numbers? So first we will be comparing a with b, then we will comparing a with c, right? Then what we'll be doing, you will be comparing b with c and b with a. Okay, so it means like, so we will be checking, we will be comparing one value with the other two values, and if it is greater than other two values, then you can conclude that this is the greatest. Similarly, you will be comparing b. If you feel like it is greater than a and c, then you will be printing b is bigger. Then since we are using it for three variables, so two of the conditions, if they are not satisfied, then automatically this third will become the biggest of all the three numbers. So let us try to understand it. So if a greater than b, so a greater than b is nothing but a is, which is nothing but 5 greater than 6, and here you are checking two conditions, double line, right? So multiple, so these two conditions should be true for it to be, this block to be executed. So 5 greater than 6 and a greater than c, 5 greater than 4, right? Is it true? So this statement is false and this statement is false, right? So, oh sorry. So this is false and this is true. 5 is greater than 4, right? So in this case, as the operand here indicates, like both the conditions should be true. So since here only one condition is true, it will automatically check the next condition. Okay. So until both the conditions will be true, it keeps on checking, right? So now let us consider B, right? 6 greater than 5, which is true, and so one more condition should also be true. Then only it will be considered, right? Now 6 greater than 4. This is also true, right? Then system.out.println B is bigger. So since we got the answer, we need not to check this particular condition, because out of these three variables, we found that B is greater than A and B is greater than C. Since there are only three variables, automatically this B is nothing but the biggest. Okay, biggest of these three numbers. Okay, so this is how we will be checking the condition using if else and nested if else. Okay, so now let us look at with a programming example. So first we will be looking at if else, then slowly we will be moving to nested if else. So first, as I said, let me take two variables, 20. So then we need to find out the greatest of two numbers A and B. Simple, we need to write the statement. So if you want to print it in a meaningful way, so if this condition is not satisfied, then it will automatically come to B. So we can print that B is the greatest. Okay, so let us try to execute it. So in this case, A equal to 10 and B equal to 20. 20 is the greatest, right, of two numbers. So B should be printed. So that is what the expectation is. So let us try to run it. So 20 is the greatest of two numbers, right? So now let us try to interchange the values. So 20, or let me take this as 40. So in this case, A should be printed, right? So if A is greater than B, A is the greatest, else B is the greatest. So in this case, A. So let us try to execute it. So 40 is the greatest of two numbers. So our conditional statement is working as expected. So now let me convert the same program for three variables where we can use nested if else, right? So for example, 50. In this case, C should be the greatest of three numbers, right? So instead of else, because in between we will be having one condition, because in total we are checking for three variables, right? We will be having three conditions. So else if, so here we need to check A is greater than B and A is greater than C. Okay, if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, then we can conclude that A is the greatest of three numbers. Similarly, we need to check for B. B is greater than A. The other two numbers we need to check. B is greater than C. In this case, we can conclude that B is the greatest of three numbers. So now two conditions we have already written. So third condition automatically comes into the else, right? So in this case, A is the greatest if this is satisfied. In this case, B is the greatest if this condition is satisfied. So if both are not satisfied, automatically it will come to else. So now A is not greater, B is not greater. Automatically C becomes the greatest. Okay, C, you can print it. Greatest of three numbers. Okay, so here also I need to change it. So the problems with the copy paste stuff. So let me change this to 3, 3. Right, so let us check with all the three scenarios. Like first we will try to find out for these combination of values. So run as Java application. So 50 is the greatest of three numbers, right? So it means C is the greatest. Now let me change some values. So let me change the B value. In this case, B should be the greatest, right? So that is what should be the printed. So 60 is the greatest of three numbers. Now let me change for A. So let me make this 80. In this case, A is the greatest. So that is what is the expectation run as. So 80 is the greatest of three numbers. So this is how we will be checking the greatest of three numbers by using nested if else. So this is how we need to understand if else and nested if else conditional statements in Java.